Today I'll be showing you how I made these cute little candles. I even did a whip topping out of candles itself, and there's little candies and peppermints that you could even break off or just use separately, not even put them in your candle, and use them as wax warmers. My fragrances are lavender, and so that's why it's the purple, but you could make it red, like a cinnamon or maybe a pumpkin spice, something more festive if you want. This was just the candle I had. And before we get into supplies, please like and subscribe to my channel. That way I can keep crafting with you. So for this project, you will need a container to put the candle in, some wax. I just used some candles that I had at home already. You can get some from like Dollar Tree, seems to have a really good value. They have these really long colored candles, but those are not scented. So then you might want to buy a little oil fragrance, or buy some of their wax warmers and add those to it to get a scent. Also make sure you mix scents that smell good. So you might not want your lavender with cinnamon. That might be an odd scent. So make sure you pay attention to that when doing your colors. I've also heard that you can color your wax by using Crayola crayons. I have not tried that, but if you're interested, that's something you can try on your own. And then I used, for these little candy pieces, this silicone mold that I got. This one from Dollar Tree, but all the craft stores have them, so just find some silicone molds that you like if you want to add the candy pieces. And then I did a little bit of twine and a little cardstock with some writing on it. That just kind of gives it this nice finished look. It's a little plain without it, so I recommend doing this little touch. You also need a wick, which you could use the wick from the candles that you're melting down, or I bought these really fancy wood ones just because I like how they burn. You don't have to use that. A normal wick will be just fine. To get this whipped texture, we need a piping bag and a little pipette. And then lastly, an oven to melt down your pieces. I also recommend maybe laying some wax paper down, just in case you spill some of your wax when pouring them. It'll be easier to pick up, because once that wax is dry, it'll peel right off of that wax paper. So again, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that, and then let's get crafting. You can use candles from Dollar Tree. They have some nice ones, but I had these 3 candles here in my house already. They're all lilac scented, so I figured I might as well use these up. These jars are just, my husband likes some yogurt that came in the glass jars, and we just took off the wrapping. If the sticker is like sticky and you have trouble getting it off, you can actually use some rubbing alcohol to help get some of that off. I bought these wood wicks. You can use wicks that come in your candle, or you could buy some. I kind of like the wood ones, so I'm going to try those. They're a little tall, but I'm going to cut them down after I do everything to make sure I have enough. And to melt these down, I'm going to set my oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's warming up. I'm going to go ahead and glue these wicks down into my candles. My hot glue gun's not quite warm yet. Again, you can use maybe some fall or winter like cinnamon spice and apple and stuff like that. Kite type candles would be better, especially for my silicone molds I'm going to be using. This also came from Dollar Tree. Again, I'm just using what I have, but Dollar Tree does have different color candles. They're unscented though, so you might add scents to them, or add some candles that have scents, mix it with the non-scented ones. And I've heard you can also color your candles by adding a crayon, because it's made out of wax, but since mine are colored, I'm not going to be doing that. And I'm going to be doing purple on the bottom. I'm going to try like a whipped cream, and then we'll add probably like this candy piece on the top. And it looks like my glue might be ready now. So I'm just doing a little bit of hot glue on the bottom to hold my wicks in place. And that way when I pour the hot wax in, they don't float to the top and move on me. If I'm using normal wicks, then I would need a toothpick with a hole, or you could do like 2 pins to keep your wicks centered. But since these are the wood ones, they'll stay up straight and don't need to be tied down. My oven is at 300, so I'm going to put them in. It seems like this method tends to work the best, but you could do the double boil method where you have a pot with water in it and then you put the candles in a second pot on top. Just be careful that you do not cook it too fast, otherwise you'll get a lot of bubbles inside. If you get bubbles or the concave topping, you can reheat your wax just with either a hot hairdryer or a heat gun, and that'll kind of help with some of that as well. So now we'll just watch our candles melt.
I found it was easiest to let your glass jar cool down so you could handle it when pouring the hot wax.
You can use your pliers to get the little candle wick out, as well as to kind of feel around and make sure, especially on these darker colors, there's no chunks still, and it looks like it's all liquidy. So I don't know if you can tell, but these are a little bit dented in, with these ones here are nice and smooth. I don't know if that's the wax itself or because I poured this one right away. I didn't let the glass cool down. These ones now, they're warm, but I can hold them. So I think that might help with not having that being too hot. And then we can just pop these out and have a cute little piece of candy. Didn't fill them all the way up, just so I can add that whipped cream there to the top. I'll let those cool and settle. I've let this cool a little bit, so I'm going to start mixing it now, just on a low setting until it starts getting a thicker consistency. The hotter you do this at, the longer you have to mix it.
I waited for my purple candle wax to harden before I do the piping bag whipped cream effect on top. So I'm just using a heat gun. You can also use a hot hairdryer just to warm up and just slightly melt that purple candle wax so it'll adhere to the second layer of candle wax I'm applying through the piping bag. Here is what a candle looks like, all finished. But not quite finished yet. Actually, to give it just a nice finished edge, I'm going to put a little bit of twine with this little greeting card and trim down the wick just a little bit. So just that little extra touch really finishes it off nicely, makes a nice little difference. So what I did was you could use a little hole punch thing and handwrite it. This one, I used my Cricut machine. I just had the pen write the warm wishes and then had my Cricut cut out the shape. And then I have some twine here. So I'm gonna wrap it once, go back through, and then just make sure you have enough to make a nice little bow. And we'll trim it. I will feed my little tag through. And then you just make a bow. Small bow on that one, but there you go. And then for this type of wick, it's actually pretty easy. I just cut mine with the scissors. I don't know about you, but I really had fun making these candles, and I just love how they turned out. That little twine with the tag, I mean, it just takes it from a pretty candle to professional, I think. So don't forget to add that little detail when you finish your candles. And I am curious to know what scents you mixed together and what ones worked and which ones didn't. And if you liked this, then let me know as well, so maybe we can make more candles together. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe and like so we can continue crafting together. Thanks.